certified master life coach, uses her knowledge as Ayurvedic. I'm going to get educated through this, which will be terrific. Her mission is to help people ignite greatness within them. We've in actual fact just had, you just think about the people that we've got. And if we've got people like Susan Cranston picking up on that to spark actually a positive side of it, we're away to the races. She's been on the financial side of things, she's seen the other side, she's seen the, like all of us, we've seen the other side, and we also see, notwithstanding the fact, we see we have to do that, but it's kind of empty. And I think you've you're bringing this thing around. And I will just let her add a little bit more to that intro, but it's with great pleasure that I introduce Susan Cranston. Susan?
I'm so very honored to be here today and filled with gratitude for the energy I feel with everyone here. When Reverend Zenji was speaking, I was moved to tears. You talked about compassion and kanon and the experience of what that meant. And very recently, just within the last week, I lost a friend who took her own life. The sense of hopelessness that must have overcome her was tragic to me. And she was actually a guest that I had interviewed on my television program. And I had a television program for 2 seasons where I really allowed the guests on my show to speak about their dharma, to speak about their purpose, what was transformational in their life. And so I had this young woman on my show to talk about her battle with depression and with anorexia. She wrote a book about it as well, but in the end, it was something that was too great for her to deal with. And so when we were going through listening to this last beautiful sharing of thoughts and wisdom and the education around Buddhism, I felt myself thinking about my dear friend Heather and what I wished for her in that place, and hoping now that she's at peace. So I just share that with you in this space. I took my shoes off. I hope you will allow me to do that so I can stay grounded and connected here with all of you. So if you feel like doing that, please go right ahead, because clearly I am. I am a Vedic educator. I studied at the Chopra Center University in California. I spent most of my earlier years raised in a Christian environment, working in corporate financial services. And when I turned 40, I really looked at my life and thought, what is the next chapter? What do I want? I have 2 daughters. One just turned 16 this week, and the other is 12 years old. And I really wanted to create a legacy, create momentum, create meaning and purpose for them. And so I started to really dive into my own spiritual journey. I've been practicing Ayurveda personally for a long time, but decided that I would pursue a journey of teaching it. So I teach yoga, I teach Ayurveda, and I also am a meditation teacher. So I will guide you through some of that. This is going to be a very hands-on session, very experiential. So I hope you're ready for that journey with me in the time that we have. I know it's a bit more of a compressed time, so I'll probably do a little bit less than I normally would have. But
Go ahead, we'll be okay.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Thank you. So just before, when I was looking at the program, I thought to myself, and we're going to talk a little bit about detachment and the roles we play, and a little bit about the illusion that causes stress and tension in our life and toxicity. And my youngest daughter, I mentioned that I have 2 daughters. My youngest, when she was 6 years old, she found her dharma, or her purpose. I took her to a movie about oceans, and she started sobbing in this movie, and I said, Madeline, what's wrong? Is this inappropriate for you? And it was a Disney movie about oceans. She said, no, Mommy, I know what I need to do with my life. I need to save the oceans. And so since the age of 9, she's been a public speaker who has spoken to larger audiences than I have, live streamed to 22 countries. And when most people hear my daughter speak, if they're presenting with her, they say, please don't make me go after Maddie. So I'm sitting here after Reverend spoke, and I thought, please, I have to go after her. So now I know. I know what that feeling is like. So I hope you'll bear with me as I share my message with you today. We think about consciousness, and we heard a lot about karma. And karma is a Sanskrit word which simply means action. It is neither good nor bad. It's simply action in the sense of the truest sense of the word. And yet with that word karma, it is so important and powerful because we make all of our choices. Whether we realize it consciously or unconsciously, it's all within us to make those choices. And so when we are in conflict, when we are dealing with stress, when we're dealing with tension or change, how we relate to the software of our soul, the karmic action is a huge contributing factor. Is everyone with me on that? Sometimes we might say something like, I had to do it. I had no choice. With karma, it's always a choice. It's whether or not you stay in a place of acceptance, of understanding that choice. Does that make sense? Change is now. So when we think about change often causes us to feel stress, anxiety, and tension. Has anyone here in this room, by a show of hands, not experienced change in your life? If I were a betting gal, I probably would have won some money on that one. We all go through change. Change is the constant, it is our reality, but acceptance of that will bring us peace and bring us harmony. In reality, we are made up of, we've probably heard this a few times, I know I heard it in the last presentation. We are made up of energy and information. And everything else around us is that same thing. I think that's the premise or the underlying element here to this oneness, to this connection that we feel. When we accept that and let go, detach ourselves from the need to control or to stay in the past, we will not suffer, we will not feel stress, we will not feel the tension. But doing it in the practicalities of moving outside this door can become very difficult, can it not? You can feel such a sense of energy, such a sense of inspiration in these walls. I'm tingling right now. I feel your energy. I feel the connection to you. But it can become increasingly hard when you're not necessarily with like-minded individuals who share many of the same thoughts that you do. That can create tension. That can create change. That can create unsettling feelings, questions that you have around your thoughts, right? So with this, I'd like to talk a little bit more about this concept of energy and information and the connection to harmony and living in a harmonious life.
Sue, pardon me.
Yes.
Move a little bit forward because the.
Am I blocking the screen?
No.
Do I have it in my head?
Yeah.
Is that nice? I'm accepting of that.
This is much better, yes, thank you.
Is that better? Thank you.
Although I
Do you like that?
I didn't
Makeup.
want you to change, but I'm glad you changed.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's good. I feel like having broccoli in my teeth. Or my fly being down. Goodness, I'm wearing a dress. When we think about change too, it reminds me of this concept of our thoughts. Most of our thoughts, we think between 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day, believe it or not. And most of those thoughts are thoughts that we have thought over and over and over again. We think about the things that have happened in our past, or we worry about something in the future with fear and dread, or we wish for something else and say, if only my life were like this. If only I had that. Concept of being present, the concept of being here allows us to stay in a place of harmony, stay in a place of connectedness. Right now, there is nowhere else that you need to be. this is the place for you in this present moment. The more we're able to keep our thoughts right here and hold that intention, the more we're able to feel that harmonious connection. But the reality is, we can't always do that. We have all of these thoughts that keep us in the past or keep us thinking about the future. I also like to think of it as if you have this insane inner roommate, right? Mine has a name. Her name is Sally. Sally lives with me. Sally tells me all kinds of things. Things that I really, if Sally were sitting here in the chair, I probably wouldn't want to be friends with Sally anymore. I'd probably say, Sally, it's time for you and I to break up, move out, go away. But do we do that with our inner thoughts? Do we? We listen to them. We hold them as a truth. We say, well, that must be. But the more we're able to detach from those thoughts, the more we're able to feel a greater sense of freedom and a harmony and connection. So, I ask you to pay attention, recognizing that you are the listener to those thoughts. You are not your thoughts. Sally is detached from me, even though she's inside here. Does everyone get that concept? You can give your thoughts a name, and that creates a bit of a separateness as you think about that. So, in times of change, what can we feel? Right? We can feel all of these emotions that you see here on the screen. It can create emotional toxicity. When you are feeling the anxiety of change, the fear of change, it can cause cynicism, fatigue, depression, anxiety. It can cause Sally to go on a complete tear, right? Thinking all kinds of worrisome thoughts. When that toxicity stays inside of our body, it can accumulate to cause us to move into a place of accumulating inflammation and illness. We don't want to stay there. We want to be able to release that toxicity. And so today I'm going to walk you through an exercise to allow you to have an emotional clearing. Okay? Like I said, it's going to be hands-on and experiential from that perspective. What happens if you don't listen to your body? And how many of us here don't listen to our body? I'm going to soldier on. Suck it up, princess. Get on with it. I can't feel my leg, but that's okay, because I'm tough. I've had a migraine. I have this rash for 4 months. Maybe I should go to the doctor. Nah, I'll just put a Band-Aid on it. The more you're able to connect with your body and listen, as opposed to the rationalization of what's going on in your mind, the more harmony, the more at peace, the more acceptance you will feel with yourself. And the big C word, being compassion. Probably one of the biggest messages I can share today, and we heard this in the earlier presentation, was around compassion. And I would say self-compassion, giving yourself permission. If only my friend Heather had been able to exercise more self-compassion, she probably would have made another choice on Saturday. What happens if you ignore stress and all of that toxicity that's sitting in your body? Well, there is a video that I want to show you. It's whiteboarding. Has anyone heard of whiteboard animation? It's very fast on a whiteboard. I love it, and I'm going to talk about it because it's local to 2 graduates of the University of Waterloo who created, it's a YouTube phenom called ASAP Science. Has anyone here heard of ASAP Science at all? Well, a few of you have. Well, now all of you will. So you can raise your hand again. So this is a very quick description of what happens when we're dealing with stress.
Get the book at asapscience.com. In a busy world with unending work and responsibilities piling up, stress can get to the best of us. But how bad is it for you, really? Can stress actually kill you? From a biological perspective, stress makes perfect sense. If you're about to get chomped on by a bear, your stress hormones better kick your butt into gear. But it turns out that your mortgage, unemployment, and looming exam all trigger the same stress response in your body. And unlike most animals, which eventually experience a major decrease in these hormones, humans can't seem to find the off switch. Even though it's not life and death, our psychological woes consistently bathe our bodies in these hormones, making our heart pound, muscles tense, and stomach turn. In Japan, they have the term karoshi, which literally translates to death from overwork. In what is now deemed an overworking epidemic, these individuals who are seemingly healthy and in their prime suddenly die. After being officially recognized and documented in Japan, these sudden heart attacks and strokes were quickly linked to stress. But how does stress cause this? Cortisol is one of the main stress hormones, which helps divert energy to where you need it and away from non-essential functions of the body. But with chronic stress exposure, problems arise. The immune system shuts down, inflammation is inhibited, white blood cells are reduced, and susceptibility to disease increases. Some evidence also suggests that prolonged stress may be involved in the development of cancer. When looking at the arteries of macaque monkeys, those under significant stress have more clogged arteries. This prevents blood from getting to the heart quickly during stress and can ultimately lead to heart attacks. The brain also takes a toll. When looking at mice exposed to stress, we see dramatically smaller brain cells with fewer branch extensions than normal mice. This is particularly prevalent in the areas associated with memory and learning, which may stir up some memories for you of those wonderful all-night study sessions. The acute stress and sleep deprivation can make it increasingly difficult to remember the things we want to. Perhaps the most telling story is in our DNA. We contain something called telomeres at the end of our chromosomes, which decrease in size with our age. Our video on aging here explains this process. Eventually, the telomeres run out, at which point the cell stops duplicating and dies. So telomeres are directly related to aging and length of life. And it turns out, stress may actually accelerate the shortening of these telomeres. But not all hope is lost for the perpetually stressed. Another hormone, oxytocin, has been shown to reduce this stress response. It helps your blood vessels relax and even regenerates the heart from stress-related damage. So how do we get more oxytocin? It's sometimes dubbed the cuddle hormone because it's released during positive social interactions and while caring for others. People who spend more time with others create a buffer or resilience to stress. So when life gets the best of you, just remember, you don't have to go it alone. Spend some time with those you love. It may just save your life.
So if you feel like it at this point, you could turn and give someone a hug. Because hugs are free.
You are the closest. I want to keep it shorter.
Yay. See? Everyone's smiling. Beautiful. So what we're touching on this afternoon.
Thank you.
Behind the camera. Behind the camera.
I didn't feel like getting up.
You'll see a slide here that's going to touch on the key points that we're going to address today. Doing a weather scan. We're looking at doing some breathing, and Shiv already walked us through that, but I'm going to I'll shorten it and just do one breathing exercise with you. And then we're going to go through talking about emotional clearing and the concept of choosing and the difference between feeling that you're not making the choice. So we'll walk through that. We'll do some exercises relating to conscious communication. Another term for that is nonviolent communication, and I have some handouts for you as well if you're interested as we go through that part of the presentation. And then I'd love to show you a video from a TED Talk on gratitude. And that I love to end all of my presentations with that because holding gratitude in your heart is such a beautiful gift. It creates so much energy for yourself and for everyone around you. So here we go. How often do you do something for yourself in a day? How often? You can answer that question silently to yourself. Give yourself the gift of compassion, doing something that brings you joy. Or are we so busy doing things we need to for others? How do we then feel about ourselves? When we're so rushed, when there's so much, we feel there's so much demand on us, we can go into what I call zombie mode, right? We stop feeling, we stop listening to our body, we charge along. We don't truly look at people to see them, do we? We don't see God in the person that we look at. Because I believe that God is in each and every one of us. Greatness, the light, purity, and perfection, acceptance, honor, dignity, integrity, all the most beautiful attributes in the world. Do you take time to reflect and think about all the roles that you play? What role are you playing right now? Are you on a journey of self-discovery? Are you a sister, a brother, a father, a friend? Understanding the roles you play and who you are in this moment is also really important. The person that you were when you were 4 years old is different than the person you are now. Do you look the same as when you were 4? No. We change. So coming back to that original concept that I had, change is our reality in that perspective. Accepting this is such an important gift. And then checking in to gauge how you're feeling. Every day, I do a little weather scan. I ask myself, is it going to be a sunny day? Will I choose for it to be a sunny day? Understanding that and knowing the energy that you're sharing with everyone around you can make a massive difference in terms of the intention that you bring to the experience of your life. How many of us actually do that though? We just get up and move on and continue forward. So I invite you to consider that, to do a bit of a weather scan for your day, each day. I love this quote. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment, helping us stay very present in this wonderful moment, knowing that there is nowhere else we need to be but right here. So this is a good time for us to do one more breathing exercise. Shiv walked us through the importance of doing that deep inhalation, allowing our lungs to fill with oxygen-rich blood, which cleanses our blood and allows us more clarity and more focus. I'd like to walk you through a breathing exercise right now. It's quite simple to do, and it is, probably many of you know this. It's in Sanskrit, it's called Nadi Shodhana. How many are familiar with that breathing exercise? Some of you are. Excellent. So with this, I find that when people are dealing with stress or change, or perhaps struggling with even finding sleep when they need to, it's a great way to consciously pay attention to your breathing and being aware of it. So with Nadi Shodhana, again, with breathing, we breathe through our nose only. Our mouth is for eating as much as, unless you're really congested or you have a deviated septum, and then I encourage you to just hold your cheekbone and pull that back. So we're going to start. I'm going to try to do this mirror image. I'm slightly dyslexic, so bear with me here. If you raise your fingers this way, you can bring your hand up to your third eye, and then with your, so just even if you're not necessarily watching me, just listen to my voice. We're going to hold our right nostril closed, breathe in through our left nostril, deeply to fill up your diaphragm, then holding both nostrils closed. I'm not going to do it or I'll be talking like this. Hold your breath for 3 seconds. Count of 3, 2, 3. Holding your left nostril closed, open your right nostril and slowly exhale for a count of 3. And then deeply inhale, filling your belly. Now holding both nostrils closed for a count of 3. Exhale through your left nostril. Feeling that exhale as if a string is pulling into your navel. Now breathing in through your left nostril. Fill your belly with that oxygen-rich air, holding both nostrils closed. Exhaling through your right nostril. Breathing in through your right nostril. holding both nostrils closed for a count of 3. And slowly exhaling through your left nostril. Very good. You feel a bit of grounding with that exercise. If you do 4 to 6 rounds of that, starting on the left, moving to the right, back, you will notice an ability to really ground, calm, and center yourself, particularly when you're dealing with something that might be emotionally upsetting or stressful, or if you're just wanting to get in touch with your body and being consciously aware of the breath. Many of us in North America are very shallow breathers, so we only breathe here. And I've seen many presenters, they're not getting a full breath. So just be aware of that, connecting in with the breath. Now, one of the things I'd like to walk you through is a clearing exercise. When you deal with something, maybe you've had an experience, and maybe you can just conjure this in your mind, hold it in your thoughts. A conversation that you might have had with someone that didn't go well. Right? Maybe you have some unresolved issues. Can you think of a situation like that? Can everyone think of something that might have caused them some stress or tension, anxiety? I want you to think about what that was. Maybe it's an unresolved discussion that you need to have with someone. How important it will be to allow that toxicity, that emotional toxicity that's sitting inside you, to be released. So, if you can, I invite you to close your eyes, uncross your legs if they're crossed, because that blocks your Muladhara chakra. You want the energy to be able to flow through you. Just feel yourself centered. Again, taking a deep diaphragmatic breath. I want you to be able to quiet any turbulence that's generated when you have unmet needs. I'm going to walk you through 7 steps to help you accept your feelings without judgment and allow you to experience greater personal growth and self-reflection. This first step is to take responsibility for exactly what it is that you're feeling. And when you find yourself getting upset, it's usually because someone has reflected on some quality that you haven't fully acknowledged in your nature. When you do take responsibility for that quality, you no longer become a conditioned bundle of reflexes, swayed by the opinions of others, and you will no longer be vulnerable to the opinions of everyone you encounter. Next, I'd like you to identify the emotion you're feeling. Emotions are energy in motion in our bodies. Maybe you're feeling sad or angry, disappointed, or confused. Whatever the emotion is, take that moment to identify what it is that you're feeling. Then witness the feeling as it's showing up in your body. Our thoughts are associated with physical sensations, and they trigger a chemical reaction in our body that can have a life of its own. The physiological response to stress can't be instantaneously shut off. Rather, the energy of the emotion must be dissipated before the emotion can be processed further. So just observe that feeling and allow your attention to observe, listen to your body. Some of that emotional charge will dissipate just by listening and acknowledging it. Like a child crying, it wants to be heard. That emotion needs to be recognized. Witness that feeling. Then, if you can, think about how you would want to express that emotion to yourself. Using language that you need to, knowing that no one will be there to hear it. just you. So the next few steps, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. I'll make sure that this information that I just shared is available to you, because what I like to do is, in the work I do as a master coach and an Ayurvedic practitioner, is to act as a GPS. I want to provide practical tools and information to help you when you step out that door, outside of the comfort and security of a place that is judgment-free and where you feel such a strong connection to those around you. So the next step beyond that is to really release whatever emotion you had through some ritual. Maybe you've written something down, you write down your thoughts, your feelings, and what it was that you experienced on a piece of paper, and then tear it up. Maybe you light it on fire, whatever it is that you feel you need to do. Maybe beat a drum, sing, chant, recite a mantra. The next step is to share that experience with someone you trust and respect. Allow it to move from you to them in a way that acknowledges that. And the last step is to celebrate the process that you've just gone through. A big piece of emotional clearing is honoring what you have gone through to take you through that journey, that emotional healing, that emotional release, and allowing yourself to celebrate that you have gone through those steps. It could be something as small as going for a walk, listening to beautiful music, allowing the earth to kiss your feet by walking outside and looking up at the gorgeous sun, or maybe staring out at the moon or the stars, or maybe enjoying a beautiful meal with family or friends. Whatever that may be, celebrate the process that you've gone through. Does anyone have any questions about that, this concept of emotional clearing? Make sense? Okay. Paying attention to your body, the feelings that you have, and moving to release. So this is something I talked a little bit about, this idea of shoulds and need to. So what I'd like you to do, if you can, is just pair up with someone, pick a partner right now, and I'd like you to have a brief conversation with them, no more than 2 minutes, because we don't have a lot of time this afternoon. And I would like you to tell them what you're going to do this evening and tomorrow. And try to avoid using the term need to, have to, should. Okay? Let's try that. And then just one person shares, and then the next person does. Okay? Just take a couple of minutes to do this.
You need a chair? No. Okay, I'll stand too.
The idea here is to use the word, every time you catch yourself, I choose. I choose.
So,
My choice.
Anything particular?
I need to know.
Yes.
It's very easy to avoid him. I know exactly what it is.
I choose to be with my wife, expressing my gratitude, love.
Good for you.
If you haven't switched, please do so now. And give your partner a chance to try this exercise.
To my family members, I feel consciousness because daughter is away or son will be away. I feel consciousness. And I'm so this kindness, just by keep yourself
Was that easy or difficult? Do you find yourself using words like, I need to, I should, at all? No? Anyone? Everyone was good about using I choose? Beautiful. That's fantastic. For some, it's not always that easy. You liberate yourself when you step into a place of making a conscious choice, as opposed to feeling you need to, must, or should. And I think that's a liberating and harmonizing concept as well. So now we're going to do even more to keep you awake for the last little bit here. We're going to do more work together. And this is a topic I'm so passionate about. I love to talk about it. It's nonviolent communication or conscious communication. And it's the work of, in the handout I have here, Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. He did a lot of work with the United Nations, with warring countries, helped diffuse very, very difficult, hostile situations. He wrote this wonderful book called Nonviolent Communication, and I have a handout, two-page handout here. I don't know if I have enough for all of you, but I can make it available for Shiv to make sure he can get it to all of you electronically. The concept here is that while there is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, everyone familiar with that? You know, we have the basic needs of food and shelter, just think that movie or the book, The Hunger Games. We also have emotional needs. And when those emotional needs aren't met, we can feel stress, we can feel anxiety, there can be an extensive buildup of emotional toxicity, which can then cause us a lot of difficulty and problems and Sally to go wild. With this concept, it's understanding the idea that acceptance, appreciation, affection, and attention are our 4 core emotional needs. And when those emotional needs are not met, we will search for it. Our behavior, our actions will continue to seek that out. We might not be aware of it on a conscious level, but we are doing it on an unconscious or subconscious level. Any experience you've had, I invite you to consider, what need of mine has not been met? What am I looking for? Attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance. In this world, we look for happiness. That's probably the common denominator that many of us seek. We say we all want happiness for ourselves, for our loved ones, for the world peace, happiness. But where do we look for happiness? Where do we look? Many people look outside. If I only had that car, if I only had that house. That's called object referral. Moving in that place inside is where happiness truly exists. Self-referral. So we often will look externally for attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance. But where will we truly find it? Inside us. So I invite you to consider ways that you can bring yourself attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance. That's a heavy request. I'm constantly looking for that myself, challenging myself on a daily basis to think about this concept. So whether I'm working with a client, I'm doing a speaking engagement, I'm talking to a friend, I'm aware of this. In terms of how I show up, what's my weather report like? What script has been written in my life early on that's affecting how I show up right now? And what am I seeking? Attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance. So I want to leave you with some tools to understand this in practicality. When you leave this room, when you're engaged in a conversation with a colleague, a friend, a loved one, whoever that might be. This is an interesting slide. There are 7 biological responses in our body, and I'm only going to talk about 2 of them for time's sake, but also the importance of this conversation. Fight or flight, I think all of you are probably familiar with that. You either fight or you flee in a situation. But there is another version of this. You see what these men are doing? They're holding these weapons behind their back. This is called the passive-aggressive response. Oh yes, so nice to see you. Right? There's probably a lot of things going on in their minds because they've got unresolved issues relating to unmet emotional needs. If I had that conversation with them, they probably wouldn't understand in that moment because their monkey brain is going crazy with thoughts of these unresolved issues that they have. So we spend a lot of time in fight or flight or in this passive-aggressive form of fight or flight. Okay? And it can show up either in cynicism, aggression, or it can show up in terms of the flight being pouting, or withdrawal. No, there's nothing wrong with me. Everything's fine. No one's ever said that, right? No. I want to show you a quick video. I know. Thank you, my darling. Thank you so much. I'll talk really fast now. I'll show you a quick video that I feel articulates this lack of awareness, but there's clearly an emotional need or more that hasn't been met. It's called It's Not About the Nail.
And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
You do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail.
See, you're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I'm listening. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like, there's this achy, I don't know what it is. All my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
If you would just.
Don't.
Has anyone ever had a conversation like that? Where you can see what it is and they're in denial. Like there's a lack of self-awareness. Hopefully not as obvious as a nail in your forehead. But you know what? This is sort of a dramatized depiction of what we experience.
Fred, thanks.
Lights on. I have to speed through this. I wish I had so much more time. But I'll go through this because one of the things when we talk about conscious communication, nonviolent communication, are understanding the steps. We talked a little bit as we went through the emotional clearing exercise, but it really is identifying these 4 things. They're simple things to say. They're much more challenging to do in practice. So I will say that right now. This is something to work on all the time. This idea of what just happened. What just happened? It could be that scenario, or maybe you can think of that one earlier where you had a conversation where you have some unresolved feelings with someone. The concept here is to simply observe. Be a curious, detached observer of the situation, as opposed to evaluating or judging or being emotionally charged. The more you can detach yourself from the ego, not that ego is good or bad, just is, that sense of possession, that sense of wanting to own something and own the outcome. The more you can detach from that state, the more you will have the ability to be a curious, detached observer. We'll walk through what that looks like. So I like to think about this in highly technical terms. I'm going to throw 2 at you right now. You won't need to write them down, I promise. One's called yum, and the other's called yuck. Yum and yuck. It's as simple as that. If you think about how your body's feeling, something's either yummy
or yucky. If you have an experience, it's either yummy or yucky. With food, you taste it, it's either tastes good or it tastes bad, yum or yuck. It's the same with emotionally charged experiences. And the more we can move to a place of yum, the better it is for us to be in a harmonious state with ourselves and everything around us. So here is an example of what just happened. And in this scenario, I'm just going to say, the problem with you is that you're too selfish, she's lazy, they're prejudiced, it's inappropriate. These are all judging, evaluative statements, are they not? Have you heard people use this kind of language? This is violent language. This is violent language that sticks inside us, that creates a script for us that's very unhealthy. So we want to move away from using these violent words and just observe what happened. Detach. So if we were to say something like, well, I'll use an example with my daughter, my 16-year-old, lovely girl, keeps her door closed, not the cleanest, clothes all over the floor. I remind her, Sammy, can you please pick up your clothes? Sure, it doesn't happen. I remind her again, same thing, repeat, repeat, repeat. I could say to her, Sammy, you're lazy, you're not clean, you're not listening to me. Or I could simply observe, Sammy, for the last 3 weeks, I've noticed that the laundry, your dirty laundry, is still on the floor, right? Do you notice the difference? If I were to judge her, judge the situation, because my emotional need of not being honored as a parent who's doing the chores and helping in the house and all of that, right? I'm placing my unmet need into that scenario by judging her. Are you with me on this? Right? How many of us do that though? We place the judgment there because of our unmet need, as opposed to simply being a curious, detached observer and commenting on the situation. When we simply comment on what we observed, we help keep the other person's wall down, right? They don't go into fight or flight or that passive-aggressive response. You allow them the space to respond. You with me? Okay. So let's just go through a few of these. Tell me if this is a judging, just say it out loud, I've only got 5 minutes left. If it's a judging or a non-judging statement. So the first one being, John was angry with me yesterday for no reason. Judging. One more. Yesterday evening, Nancy bit her fingernails while watching TV. You get the concept, right? But how many of these statements get said and we don't even recognize that they're violent in nature and that they create walls to go up? We're not exercising compassion either with ourselves or with those around us. So being cognizant of it, being aware of it, is a beautiful first step in consciously communicating. The next is to recognize the emotion as we went through that emotional clearing exercise. What is it that you're feeling? So if we went back to the example of my daughter in her room, what was the emotion I felt? I felt sad. So it's simply saying the feeling that you had in your body. I feel sad, I feel happy, whatever that is. I can give you a list of words. I have a list of words here that we can use to describe the emotion that we feel in that scenario. Simply that. So distinguish feelings from thoughts. This is a really important concept. The concept here is to say, I don't feel, I have a thought around something, as opposed to just stating the feeling. And the example here is, I feel that you should know better. I feel like a failure. I feel as if I'm living with a wall. Those aren't feelings. Those are statements about feelings. Do you understand the difference? As soon as you put the actual descriptive word behind I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel happy, I feel joy, that becomes a description as opposed to a thought about a feeling. So very quickly here, these are words that we want to avoid, and I have this in the handout so you don't have to worry about writing it down or capturing it at all. These are all very judging words that you see up on the screen. And here are words that we would recommend using to describe the emotion you feel about something, to help you express that unmet emotional need. Okay? There are a lot that can be used in the vocabulary, but the importance here is to say, I feel, and then insert that word instead of that. Because that's a thought about a feeling. Is everyone with me? I'm really going through this quickly. So let's just do 2 of these together. The first one being, I feel you don't love me. Is that a thought or a feeling? It's a thought. The second one, I'm sad that you're leaving. It's a feeling. Do you get the concept here, the difference? Okay. The third is to take responsibility for what it is. So we can blame ourselves, we can blame others, we can sense our own feelings and needs, or we can sense the feelings and needs of others. So often when you've said something that's judging of someone else, their wall goes up, and what will they do? Finger comes out, it wasn't me, it was so-and-so, it was you. Right? Not taking ownership or responsibility for that. When we step into a place of saying, I feel this way, it changes the dynamic, it changes the energy exchange. It creates an awareness, a connection that you have, a compassion you have for that other person, a connection, a oneness. So here's an example. You disappointed me by not coming over last night. Not really taking ownership around the feeling or the unmet need. Slightly better would be, I was disappointed when you didn't come over because I wanted to talk over some things that were bothering me. This is a time to be verbose, to explain as much as you can to provide detail, but making it about you and your needs. So identifying that is absolutely critical to this exchange. So here, let's just go through this. 2 of these. You irritate me when you leave company documents on the conference room floor. Is that taking ownership? I feel angry when you say that because I'm wanting respect and I hear your words as an insult. Right? Acknowledging the feeling. Right? What's the unmet need? We're getting closer. So the more clear and articulate you can be about this, the more helpful it is in terms of getting a positive outcome for yourself and removing that toxicity, but also to help the other person understand where you're coming from and hopefully create that positive outcome. The fourth is to make a really clear request. This can be really hard for people because they haven't gone through those other steps. So you can't actually say what it is that you want because you're not really 100% sure. It becomes vague. Well, they should just know. If you love me, you'll do the right thing. You just know. You know what I need. How do I know what you need? I don't know what you need. But what happens when you were a baby and you cried? Your parents did what? Were you hungry? Did you need to be held? Do you need your diaper changed? So we started off in a situation where we would cry or get upset, and then someone would meet our emotional need. It doesn't work that way as an adult, does it? It's a little different. So here's the last example. Tell me if someone is asking clearly and positively about their emotional need. I want you to understand me. And yes, I have teenage daughters. I want you to understand me. Is this a positively asked, clear, direct request? No, it's not. I'd like you to tell me one thing that you did that you appreciate. I did that you appreciate. Good. You get the idea here? Okay. My time is coming to an end. So I would love to show you a video. I'm not going to, but I'm going to make sure that it's available to you. And it's this amazing TED Talk on gratitude.
How long is the video?
For about 4 minutes. You want to run it?
Take a photo.
Wow! My emotional need has been met.
I felt it. How often do we get an opportunity like this? Well, we do have to hustle to get a picture taken and then stories.
So I'll just preface it by saying this has been done by the man who invented time-lapse photography and spent the last 30 years of his life doing time-lapse photography every single day.
seen it. I've seen it before.
When I watch TV, it's just some shows that are pretend. And when you explore, you get more imagination than you already had. And when you get more imagination, it makes you want to go deeper in, so you can get more and see beautiful things. Like the path. If it's a path, it could lead you to a beach or something, and it could be beautiful.
You think this is just another day in your life? It's not just another day. It's the one day that is given to you today. It's given to you. It's a gift. It's the only gift that you have right now, and the only appropriate response is gratefulness. If you do nothing else but to cultivate that response to the great gift that this unique day is, if you learn to respond as if it were the first day in your life and the very last day, then you will have spent this day very well. Begin by opening your eyes and be surprised that you have eyes you can open. That incredible array of colors that is constantly offered to us for pure enjoyment. Look at the sky. We so rarely look at the sky. We so rarely note how different it is from moment to moment with clouds coming and going. We just think of the weather. And even of the weather, we don't think of all the many nuances of weather. We just think of good weather and bad weather. This day, right now, is unique weather. Maybe a kind that will never exactly in that form come again. The formation of clouds in the sky will never be the same that is right now. Open your eyes, look at that. Look at the faces of people whom you meet. Each one has an incredible story behind their face. A story that you could never fully fathom. Not only their own story, but the story of their ancestors. We all go back so far. And in this present moment, on this day, all the people you meet, all that life from generations and from so many places all over the world flows together and meets you here like a life-giving water if you only open your heart and drink. Open your heart to the incredible gifts that civilization gives to us. You flip a switch and there's electric light. You turn a faucet and there's warm water and cold water and drinkable water. It's a gift that millions and millions in the world will never experience. So these are just a few of an enormous number of gifts to which we can open your heart. And so I wish you that you will open your heart to all these blessings and let them flow through you, that everyone whom you will meet on this day will be blessed by you. Just by your eyes, by your smile, by your touch, just by your presence. Let the gratefulness overflow into blessing all around you. And then it will really be a good day.
Wow. Wow. Susan, thank you. Wow. You know, that's what a lovely way to end that. Sorry? It's been a long day. No, it's lovely. What a lovely emotional way to start off. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your presentation today. It was spot on. Spot on. And Vicky's going to
SHEN and everybody here at the conference. Thank you